Chapter 29, Down the Mountainside. I don't remember much about the trip back to Camp 6. We stumbled into camp well after dark. I vaguely remember Yogi hooking up a fresh oxygen tank to my mask, but after that, it's a blank. I didn't have any trouble sleeping, I know that, and I didn't have any regrets about not reaching the summit. I woke up with spit frozen all over my face and the worst headache of my life. The oxygen tank was empty. I grabbed another one and cranked it up to 6 for a few minutes. That got rid of most of the headache. Yogi and I were eager to get down and check on Zopa. We bypassed Camp 5 and went directly to Camp 4. As soon as we stepped into camp, we were confronted by one of the Chinese soldiers. He was dressed like a climber, except for the pistol strapped around his waist. In pretty good English, he asked who we were and what we were doing. "My name is Peak Marcello, and this is Yogi Sherpa," I said. "We took supplies up to Camp 5, and we're headed back down to base camp." He called Captain Sheik on the radio, and they had a long conversation in Chinese. "The captain wants to talk to you," the soldier said and handed me the radio. "This is Peak Marcello," I said. "Joshua Wood, son?" "Right." "What you doing on mountain?" "Like I told your officer, I helped to take some supplies to Camp 5. Josh is taking a climbing party tomorrow." "But you leave mountain." "What are you talking about?" I asked, enjoying myself immensely. "I'm up at Camp 4. "You have big argument with your father." "Oh, that. He told me he wasn't going to let me try for a summit. It made me mad, but at least he let me get as far as Camp 5. "What about other boy?" "What other boy?" "Sanjo." "Oh, him," I said. "He's in Nepal." Which was the absolute truth. "I don't believe. I have soldier bring you and Sherpa back to base camp." "Whatever," I said, and handed the radio back to the soldier. They had another long conversation in Chinese, but I knew what this one was about. The other soldiers had gathered around the radio and were listening intently. The one with the radio finally signed off and shook his head with resignation. "You don't have to escort us down," I said. "We have orders," he said. "That's fine with me, but we're going to base camp. Where else would we go?" About that time, Josh came on the radio asking for me. The soldier handed me his radio again. "Is everything okay, Peak?" "I guess. What's the matter with that captain?" "I don't know. Anyway, we're headed up to ABC tomorrow, so I guess we'll see you on your way to base camp. Thanks for helping Yogi get those supplies up to 5. I could see him and the others gathered around at HQ monitoring the call from Captain Sheik. "No problem," I said. "Is there any way you'd reconsider giving me a shot at the summit?" "We've already talked about that, Peak. The answer is no. Maybe next year or the year after, when you're a little older. You're not ready." "Out." I handed the radio back, trying to look disappointed. The soldier looked at me for a moment. "Do I have your word that you are going down to base camp?" I held up my right hand. "You have my word. All I want to do right now is to crawl into my tent and go to sleep." He nodded. Yogi and I headed over to Zopa's tent, not sure what we would find. What we found was a note. "Peak, I left Camp 4 yesterday. All is well. I will see you on the road. Zopa." I was glad to hear he was okay, but the note freaked me out. It was addressed to me. The plan had been for me to top the mountain with Sanjo and cross into Nepal. How could Zopa possibly have known what I was planning on doing? I didn't know what I was planning to do until I was 10 feet away from the summit. Yogi and I woke up early and left Camp 4 before anyone was awake. I wanted to give the soldiers an out so they could tell the captain that we had left before they were up. When we got to ABC, we were met by more soldiers. They were in uniform and looked uncomfortably cold. Once again, I was given a radio with a very angry Captain Sheik on the other end. "You leave Camp 4!" "Right. Without soldiers." "We left before light. We didn't want to wake them. Besides, we know our way down to base camp. We don't need an escort." "Soldiers at ABC escort you." "Fine." The 2 soldiers picked for the duty were delighted to be leaving ABC. We ran into Josh and his clients just as they were arriving at Camp 2. They must have left base camp early because they had made good time. Josh took me to the side out of earshot of the Chinese soldiers. "Did you summit?" he asked quietly. "No." "What happened?" "Ran out of steam." No worries," he said. "What about Zopa, Sunjo, and Yash?" "Zopa got sick and didn't get past Camp 4. I don't know where he is now. I was hoping that you'd seen him." Josh shook his head. "I'm sure he's fine. He's probably slipped into the porter camp at night and he's laying low." "I hope so." "And Sunjo and Yash?" he asked. "As far as I know, they're in Nepal." "What?" I told him about Zopa's plan. He broke into a broad grin. "That son of a... Captain Sheik is going to flip when he finds out. Topping the mountain." He shook his head and then turned a little more serious. "How far'd you make it?" "Above Camp 6. "Well, you made it a lot farther than most people. I'll take you next year or the year after. We'll go up on the Nepal side. After Sheik finds out about Sunjo, I'll never get a permit to climb on this side again." "When did Sunjo summit?" 1:32 p.m., May 30th, a day before his 15th birthday. He put his hand on my shoulder. "I wish it could have been you." "No worries," I said. "We go," one of the soldiers said. "In a minute," Josh said, then turned back to me. "Sheik is going to detain you when you get to base camp and ask you some questions. Thaddeus will be there with you. In real life, Thaddeus is a lawyer and is fluent in Chinese and Chinese law. You'll be okay." I was going to be okay, but not for the reason he thought. And I was not going to join him on another Everest climb. I'd had enough of 8,000-meter peaks littered with corpses. "I'm going home," I said. "What do you mean?" "Back to New York. We'll talk about that when I get back down." "I won't be there when you get back down," I said. "What's the hurry?" "You wouldn't understand." "Try me." "Okay, I want to be home for the twins' birthday." By the look on his face, I was right. He didn't understand. "I haven't missed one yet," I said. Josh stared at me for a moment. "Well, I guess Thaddeus can get you a ride to Kathmandu." "We go now," the Chinese soldier shouted. "We're just about finished," Josh said irritably. "I guess I better go." "Yeah, well, sorry it didn't work out." Josh put out his hand. "Actually, it did work out," I said, shaking his hand. "I'll see you around." I started following the soldiers and Yogi, then turned back and shouted, "Right when you get a chance." Josh looked at me and grinned. I just might do that. We got to base camp about 5 o'clock. Captain Sheik, several soldiers, and Thaddeus Bowen were waiting on me. They weren't interested in Yogi and let him go into camp. When we got into Sheik's headquarters, the first thing he did was to dump everything in my pack onto a large table. Then, just like my New York detective a century ago, he examined the contents item by item. He found nothing of interest except for the digital camera Josh had gotten for me, JR's video camera, and my moleskin. He flipped through the moleskin, found mostly blank pages, and put it back down. The cameras he pushed to the side of the table. "Sit," he said. There was a single straight-back chair. I sat. He asked me the same questions he had asked me up at Camp 4, but this time he had a tape recorder going and a soldier taking notes. I answered the questions in the exact same way. When he finished, he told me I could repack my things. I began stuffing things back in, but when I got to the cameras, the captain stopped me. "Not those," he said. "You have no right to take anything," Thaddeus said. "Cameras will be returned after we look." "Well, there better not be any damage to them when they're returned," Thaddeus said. Some lawyer, I thought. Glad he wasn't defending me when I was in front of that NYC judge. I'd be in jail right now. When we got outside the building, he whispered, "Was there anything incriminating on those cameras?" "It's a little late to be asking now," I said. But the answer is no. I took the memory card out and put a blank one in. "Where's the memory card?" "Someplace safe." It was actually stuffed in my sock. I was tired. I started toward my tent, and it wasn't until I got there that I remembered I didn't have a tent there anymore. I crawled into Josh's, and I was a little surprised at how tidy everything was. All the clothes were neatly folded, gear stored in boxes. He had little folding desk with pens, paper, and a laptop computer. Next to the computer were 2 stacks of mail. The first stack was addressed to him. The second stack was addressed to me. My stack was a lot smaller than his. I could have gotten mad again at the whole mail thing, but I didn't have the energy or the interest anymore. Like I said, you don't get to pick your name or your parents. Joshua Wood is what he is. I couldn't change him or the fact that he was my father. All I could do was try not to become him. I opened the big envelope addressed to PP Marcello. Inside was a drawing and a smaller envelope. Written on the outside of the envelope was airplane fare, 6-year-old spelling. Inside was $67.86. Not quite enough to get to New York, but I still had Rolf's $300 and a credit card. I pulled out the drawing. It was an invitation to a birthday party. I would have to hurry if I was going to make it in time. I started towards HQ to find Thaddeus, but on the way, I heard a truck start. I ran over to see if I could hitch a ride and found Yogi in the back. The drivers charged me $100, but I didn't care. I would have paid twice as much. I was on my way home, and the truck was nicer than the one we had taken to the mountain. The covered bed was empty, with plenty of room to lie down and sleep. The 2 drivers took turns at the wheel and were both in a hurry. They only stopped for fuel, which was fine with me. When we came to the road above the Friendship Bridge, where the prisoners had been chipping the boulder, the truck slowed, then came to a stop. Yogi and I hopped out of the truck to find out what was going on. The boulder and prisoners were gone. In their place was a Buddhist monk with a shaved head and an orange robe. He was talking to the driver with his back to us. As we walked up, he turned around and smiled. It was Zopa. He looked fully recovered, as healthy as he had been the first day I met him in the Indrani temple. "How did you get here?" He held up his thumb. "I hitchhiked." Somehow I doubted that. Why would someone drop him off on this lonely stretch of road? The only thing nearby was the border crossing at the Friendship Bridge. Unless he asked to be out here. "I will see you on the road," his note had said. I figured he had messed up the phrase and meant down the road. I guess I was wrong. The 3 of us got into the back of the truck. I thought we were in for a big hassle at the bridge, but when we got there, the guards looked at our truck, glanced at our papers, then waved us through without a word. We made one more stop before we got to the airport in Kathmandu. I complained that I needed to get to the airport, but Zopa made a good point. They will not allow you on an airplane looking and smelling like you do. The monks at the monastery washed my clothes as I took a long bath. Zopa rode to the airport with me. Before going into the terminal, I pulled out the note Zopa had left us at Camp 4. "How did you know you'd see me on the road?" Zopa shrugged. The answer didn't surprise me. I unzipped a side pocket on my pack and pulled out the memory card. "You might need this to prove Sanjo got to the summit." Zopa took the card and stashed it in the folds of his orange robe. "Will we see you again on Sagarathma?" I wanted to shrug my reply, but I couldn't because I knew the answer. "No," I said, "but I might return to Kathmandu to visit." "You are welcome anytime." Zopa bowed and gave me a blessing. When he looked up, he said, "Thank you for what you did for my grandson." I returned the bow. "Thank you for what your son did for my father."